To this now, the Minister of International Relations and Corporations, Ronald Lamola, says he has spoken to his United Arab Emirates counterpart about the issue pertaining to South Africa. Lamola says when he was Justice and Correctional Services Minister, he did not get cooperation from the UAE about the extradition of the Gupta brothers back to South Africa. He will also travel to the United Kingdom and meet with the newly elected Minister of Foreign Affairs there.
I studied law and I was also in the Justice Department. What many people don't know is that justice has got domestic and international aspect. And it's almost 50-50. So I was still representing the country in various platforms related to human rights and issues of extraditions, issues related to various conventions that the country is a signatory to that are following under justice, the Rome Statutes, genocide conventions, and there's a lot of them, including to present counter reports in Geneva on racism and related intolerance and so forth. So it is a kind of a familiar space. My approach is very clear, is to help coordinate the country's foreign policy in terms of the Foreign Services Act, informed by the National Development Plan and the Constitution of our country, including the National Interest Document. And I'm also glad that we are now functioning within the confines or within the space of the GNU, which has also been very clear that our outlook will be human rights-based approach, the Agenda 2063, economic integration and ensuring the Africa Free Trade Agreement. So we will work with the African continent to operationalize the Africa Free Trade flagship program to ensure that as a country we also reap benefits from that, growing the economy domestically, industrialization in South Africa, also ramping up manufacturing to enable us to trade with the African continent, also regional integration within SADC, continue to build in that cohesive structure which is SADC for our participation in the AU and also in global affairs. We will continue to have a human rights outlook with regards to places like Western Sahara, Palestine, and where the country has been advocating for a just world. We will continue with that, but we will also ensure that the country does reap benefits in terms of our role that we will play in the African continent, economic benefits and also South-to-South cooperation, including the North and South cooperation. We will also have to ensure that we work to achieve the peace that the AU has always wanted, the silencing of the guns. There are challenges, as you are aware, in Sudan, in South Sudan, in the eastern part of the DRC, in Mozambique. We will continue with that work to find sustainable peace. And with the clarity that there's changing dynamics in the African continent, we will also have to be alive to that and help align the country to respond to this evolving world.
In your previous department, as you pointed out, you had to deal with treaties, issues of extradition. You failed on Malawi to bring Bashir back, the same with the Guptas. Do you regret perhaps not being able to deliver on those two important issues that are of interest even today to South Africans?
Not at all. I believe that we have followed the law. In Malawi, we have scored victories on the Bashir matter, and there were also court setbacks. But largely South Africa succeeded in many of the court processes. And the matter is in court, and I believe that at the right time the courts of Malawi will pronounce that he is extraditable. And it's the same with the UAE. We have followed all protocols and procedures to extradite the Guptas from the UAE. And I will continue to work with my counterparts at Justice to ensure that it does happen that the Guptas are brought back. And I can say it, Sophie, that in my first call that I received from the International Relations Minister of the UAE, I did raise the fact that the matter of the extradition of the Guptas is a matter of national interest for our country, and he committed that he will continuously help us also with his counterpart at Justice in the UAE, and that work will continue with our cooperation with Justice.
Another issue, let's look at global issues. We will look at Africa, SADC, and but the global issues, the world is in turmoil. You have your counterparts who are at each other's throat. When you look at the NATO meeting in Washington, you can see that the NATO group, when you look at China and Russia, hostility. What will be South Africa's role in this changing world, and the interest in terms of these powerful nations, fighting for influence, and countries such as South Africa at times finding themselves having to deal with the tensions in relation to these countries?
Firstly, we have to look at our national interests. We must be able to advocate our foreign policy independently, influenced by our own national interest and dynamics. So South Africa must remain firm and stand on its own views and positions in global affairs. And that goes to the issues of non-alignment, not to be bullied by bigger countries and players in the world, but we stand firm on what we believe in. And that has always been our position with regards to the non-alignment movement, with regards to the human rights outlook, and also with regards to resolving global challenges and conflicts through dialogue, as we have done with the Africa initiative that was led by our president in Ukraine and Russia, and also with the processes related to Palestine, where we have participated in various UN resolutions to call for a two-state solution, for engagements, and for a dialogue, and for a ceasefire, which we also took to another level at the ICJ. So South Africa must continue to remain firm, be independent in its outlook, and to advocate for global peace based on engagements and dialogue. And we also are presented with a good opportunity that in 2025 will be the host of the G20, which further give us a platform to further influence and impact the issues of global finance, the economy of the world, and also for a just world that will ensure that developing countries are able to access markets, are also able to participate as equals with their counterparts of developed countries, and with a clear emphasis of the beneficiation of the African continent. So this platform helps us to advocate for that, and also to assert our viewpoints about the changing dynamics of the global world.
Ukraine, a thorny issue, the war in Ukraine, and there's a view from some countries, particularly within the G7, that South Africa is not taking a tough stand on this matter. And we know that the president did lead that delegation to Kyiv and also St. Petersburg with the intention to try and speak to the two leaders to find a solution. This is going to be another big issue in relation to what you will be doing. Have you already perhaps looked at how you'll approach this matter?
Yeah, indeed, it's one of the matters that the country is seized with. As you are aware, we participate in the peace initiative with Ukraine through the DG here, and also the President's Security Advisor, who are participating at that level to find long-lasting solutions and various mechanisms that must enable us to resolve this matter. What is also becoming clearer and emerging is the reality that there is a need for a dialogue amongst the partners, which has been a position South Africa has been has advocated for from day one, and gradually there is that recognition. While countries still ramping up arms and so forth, but there is a clear recognition by now the world that indeed the best solution will be to find some form of engagements amongst the parties. And we are participating in that platform of the peace initiative, which we believe will end up culminating into a dialogue that must resolve this conflict.
The Middle East, you led the South African delegation in January to the International Court of Justice as Minister of Justice, as you pointed out that at that time you were responsible for issues that are related to international law also. It looks like almost 7 months on since that presentation, things have gotten worse. Do you sometimes reflect and feel this is not going to be resolved? Or what plan will be there for you? Or perhaps what are you thinking to try and push for also dialogue between the two countries, particularly between Hamas and the Israel authorities? We know that Qatar and others are trying to facilitate the talks. But how do you feel? You were there, you know this, and you were able to articulate the pain of the Palestinians. Don't you feel frustrated that all those processes are not really yielding much needed results?
Yeah, I am disappointed that when we went in January, a far lower number of the Gaza population was killed. And now, after that period, when you calculate the months, almost more than 10% of the population has been annihilated. It's disappointing. It's a setback for world politics, for world peace, the UN, and also in the trust of multilateral bodies. But we do support the initiative by Qatar in terms of the brokering of the engagements and the attempt to bring peace and some form of a ceasefire. As you are aware, we also supported the U.S. resolution at the UN in relations to a ceasefire, because we believe it also supports the initiatives that we have already undertaken. So we will continue to participate in the various multilateral platforms, including initiatives like the one Qatar is involved in, to put the necessary pressure on all the warring factions to be on the table, to find each other, and also to cease a fire, including the release of the hostages.
Let's go to the continent. You have Sudan, the DRC, as you pointed out, here on our doorstep. You have Mozambique. South Africa has played a very important role in brokering peace previously. Some people are saying we've lost that stature of being able to mediate and push warring factions to find a solution. The case in point is Sudan and the DRC. As someone who's been there in terms of your political life, you have followed what your previous leaders have done. Now it's your responsibility.
Yeah. In fact, the situation is more complex with lots of external players in some of this conflict. And we are working on finding a long-lasting solutions through the initiatives that we continue to participate in. In the DRC, as we are aware, we are participating through the SADC mission to find a peace, but we are also putting pressure on both parties, including the regional countries ourselves, in Rwanda, in Tanzania, to find ways of engaging on resolving this conflict, because it's clear that it needs a political solution. While we work on ensuring that the boots on the ground, they preserve life and so forth. But there must be that clear political engagements that must come up with the political solution. And that's why we also put forth our, through the African Renaissance Fund, to enable societies there to also function, to rebuild the economies in those parts of the Eastern DRC. We are doing the same in Mozambique, as you are aware, post-conflict resettlement through the African Renaissance Fund, to enable also the economy to be revived in the area, to ensure that the terrorists no longer find a fertile ground of recruiting from that community to continue with the terror in the area. So these missions, we will continue with them. They are in the interest of the African continent as a whole, but they're also in the interest of our country, that there is peace in Mozambique, there is peace in the DRC, because with DRC peace, it will also enable us to support the DRC economy to benefit from its natural endowments. As we are aware, one of the key discussions we are driving is the issue of strategic minerals. So the DRC is very, very important in that regard for us to shape that discussion with regards to strategic minerals, which are clearly minerals of the future in terms of the economics, in terms of the various new technologies that are coming into the space. So it's a strategic place. It will help us with the issues of industrialization, and also with regards to the integration of the African economy. The Grand Inga project that we've revived the treaty to participate in. It's also another key component that we have to ensure that it succeeds. So one of the issues that we must ensure that it succeeds are issues that relates to economic beneficiation in the African continent. And those will happen when there is a clear plan in terms of stability, in terms of peace, and then so that the communities or the societies of the African continent must reap the benefits of the natural resources, these natural endowments. The economy of our country must also benefit and grow. And it is for that reason that we will also play a more bigger role to support South African companies in the African continent, to ensure that they are our national champions in those areas, and the roles that they play is in line with human rights, but also they find protection and a voice through the South African government.
Minister, as we wrap up, you'll be traveling to the United Kingdom. You have lots of responsibilities, which is part of what you will be doing. Take us through some of the engagement you are going to have in the months to come, those that are of a priority. I can think of the Americans.
Yes, we will be traveling indeed to the United Kingdom to celebrate 30 years of freedom of our country, with the British community that supports our struggle. That community has convened a gathering that we will be addressing, and I will also have an opportunity to engage with my counterpart, the newly appointed foreign minister in Britain, also to engage on global issues, but also to strengthen our own bilateral relations, to further strengthen the economic trade between the two countries. We will also engage continuously with our U.S. counterparts. As you are aware, we engage with Mr. Blinken. We have challenges which we have raised also with him with regards to the intentions with regards to AGOA, PEPFAR, and so forth. So that we continue to strengthen that bilateral relations also between the two countries. We will also participate in the AU executive organ in Ghana, which will also be a very important platform to take further issues related to the governance of the AU and various important matters related to the economies in the Africa Free Trade area in terms of its operationalization. So these are matters of national interest for our country to continue to participate in, to strengthen both at the bilateral level and at the multilateral level with the AU.